And here we come to the final part in our three-part interview with the American Guild Exodus. In this final portion of the interview, we look at the Tier 13 race, talk a little bit about what makes for a good raider, and discuss whether Blizzard has really lived up to its assertion that you can bring the player, not the class, to the raiding experience. And we finally close the interview with some of my silly questions at the end, and we cover issues such as the design possibilities of a stick figure boss, why swimming with leeches is always better than sleeping with spiders, and the joy of a good achievement, and also the addictive value of salty snacks. And finally, we do get into some controversial statements about European-American relations, but what else should we expect from the guys who openly claim to like drama? So, enjoy. Let's move on a little bit then from that. I just wanted to ask you guys in general how the last tier went for you as the content itself is concerned. Did you guys enjoy it? I've heard some negative feedback about it, and I wondered. And Namas, what did you think about tier 13 as from a content perspective?
I never usually. Well, this is the first time doing this hardcore top end rating, so I can't really compare to the other, I guess, tiers and whatnot. I mean, I was in like US top 20 guild, but US top 5 versus your top 20 guild, they're huge difference. So you can't really compare. But tier 13, the only thing I kinda was disappointed about it was class stacking. Like I just couldn't sit out for like a few days because we're in the progression of a spine and I was a maze, and you just must have maze to kill it. So it was kind of not fair for those who wanted to actually have more rating time than somebody who was kind of quitting and want to take it easy but had to be there because of class stacking. So that was when Blizzard said, "Oh, bring the player, not the class," was completely out of the out the window, because you had to have a certain class just to beat that encounter. The design wise, it was just, I guess, awful on Blizzard's part. But every other fight, it was kind of unique. How the I don't know the boss name. I really don't pay attention. But like up to the spine, it was very interesting fight where how they Exodus come up with the strategy like on the on the dot, like, oh, we should try this one, we should try that one, and how fast they can kill versus any other guild that I was in took weeks and weeks just to kill one boss, and they can just adopt and but to sum up, like the final ending boss was pretty much the disappointment. It was a little too easy for my taste, and pretty much that's I can't really say in detail because I wasn't never in the top end guild, but and Exodus was a good guild, so they just blew through everything within 2 weeks, which I never expect to achieve.
Yeah, it's interesting experience, that sort of leap up. People talk about that a lot, how what a sort of different experience it is to go into what I often call the elite raiding guilds, the guys at the very top. The sheer pace. I talked to one of the guys from Paragon actually once. I did some interview, and during his trial, he talked about how you know, just before he'd even had a chance to sort of think about what had happened on the last boss encounter, they'd already cleared through all the trash and they were at the next boss. It's like just moving so quickly. I think that's the main difference. I think people usually point out when they raid at the elite level is just the speed at which people move, which is quite different from usually a lot of more casual raiding guilds. There's a little bit more planning between encounters, although that's not necessarily the case either, I should say, from my observation. So, Viru, how about for you? How was Tier 13? Did you like it?
I can't. I'm kind of neutral about how I feel about it. I don't personally believe that any of the fights were, besides Spine, were terribly designed. I think all of the fights were unique in their own way, and they were decent enough fights. But for me personally, there was no fun factor that'll have me remember them for years to come. Like personally, pre-nerf Kael'thas back in BC was one of my favorite fights ever. So it didn't have any fights like that. It had nothing memorable for me. Also, the design of the fights didn't favor certain classes, and it definitely favored other classes, just like Yoon said. So while rogues and mages were incredibly strong, and resto shamans were also incredibly strong this tier, which to be fair is only fair because they've always sucked in the past. But I know that as a resto druid, I voluntarily sat myself out for fights simply because I didn't bring anything to the table that other classes didn't. Yes, we can put out competitive HPS, but there's nothing else that we have. I mean, if Blizzard had given it so tree form bark skin affects the entire raid, that's something to work with. If they had given us the glyph that let us put it on a tank, that's something to work with. But right now, resto druids just don't have anything but our throughput, and even that isn't incredible right now. So I think that the designs of the fights weren't bad. I think that the application of all the fights were pretty bad, especially since they did go with the motto, bring the player, not the class. And then in this tier, it was all about bring the class, not the player. I know that if I had had a Resto Shaman alt, I definitely would have been in on a lot more fights where I don't. And so I voluntarily sat myself out. So even a 20 eye level difference in gear, we could have, easily leveled up and geared up an ult for me and had me play it. But it's ridiculous that people should have to feel that they can't play their main class simply because it's not good.
Yeah, that's been, I think, quite widely critiqued from this tier. Real frustration and kind of annoyance about that, because people do enjoy playing particular classes, or they have invested a lot of time in a particular class. So it's an interesting thing, especially when that is there. So I mean, one thing I also noticed, Peto, is when I was looking at tier 13 and in general the way that the raid content is released, there's often a lot of negative reaction to how the PTR is used and the testing that's done. And sometimes there's a perception that did they even actually test this particular boss? There were so many obvious bugs with it that it makes you wonder, did they actually even look at it? And obviously that's a fairly harsh statement that's being made, but I mean, would you agree with that, that the testing process isn't really up to snuff, and that maybe there needs to be a better process in place?
Well, I don't really know what Blizzard does internally to test the fights, but you can't just really put the heroic modes in their final form on the PTR and leave them up all the time so some guild can go through and clear all of them. That's just kind of anticlimactic. But I mean, I do think that Blizzard does need to get some type of rating team on their staff that can go through and clear the fights on heroic, with players, top 20 world caliber, and actually do the fights and see what is messed up. If they had people like that, you could go and do spine, and you could clearly see that you need the class stack to get a tendon down in 2 plate phases, and you can't just do 3-3-3. You had to do 2-3-2 or 2-2-2, or like on Heroic Ragnaros, where Blizzard had said that they did not intend guilds to stack in 3 groups in the Frostbreath, and a heroic rating team, in Blizzard could have just be doing the fight, progressing on the fight with normal gear, and figured out that, well, the Dreadflame is going to overrun us, and we're not going to have enough time or do enough damage with these meteors here too to be moving in and out of frost patches. And hey, it's only 10 yards. Maybe we could just stand in a triangle, And I think it's kind of ridiculous that Blizzard didn't expect us to be able to position ourselves exactly on 3 spots and stand there. And I don't know. I do think they need to actually do the fights from a rating perspective, not just have like some PTR testing. They need a team, a strike team, SWAT team, SEAL Team 6.
There you go. Okay, SEAL Team 6. Would you rather, if you were given a choice between no PTR testing and a much more robust sort of behind the scenes raid testing, so that you wouldn't know what was going on and it would be a genuine surprise, but it would be a much better it would be a little bit, the bugs would have been better ironed out? Would you prefer that? Or do you like having PTR?
Yeah. I would much rather have perfect fights, fights that it goes the way Blizzard wants it to, and there's no unexpected surprises where you're suddenly silencing bloods and they don't explode for damage or something. I'd rather not do the fights at all, be completely surprised, and just have the fights work and not be horribly disfigured somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's a fascinating process to watch that, because it's one of those few things where there's potential to know the answers before the test is made more widely available. And I've always found that kind of curiosity about the way that content's released. So much information is known. There's not the sort of notion of play and find out, just sort of going out there and exploring and then discovering as you go. There is a degree of great impatience and sort of anticipation of, right, I'm going to have these talents, I'm going to have this information, I'm going to, this is going to be my route of where I'm going to go and how I'm going to get to, from 0 to 10 in 5 minutes as opposed to 7 minutes. And that sort of need for efficiency and expediency seems to be very much at the core of a lot of MMO play. Never mind just raiding, but all of it, especially when new expansions come out. I'm often left quite dizzy at the speed by which groups level up just so they can dive into the raiding content. So I wonder if that's part of what's driven the pressure there, and maybe needs to be thought of a little differently, to make sure that there is that sort of the experience of discovery with a little bit of information, but without sort of giving too much away, or perhaps doing it in perhaps the wrong way. I'm not sure. So it's an interesting process there. Right. I wanted to ask you about the next tier. Do you plan to stick around for pandas?
I definitely do. I'm
Are you
not
going to
sure
be a
how
panda?
No, no. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the expansion as a whole yet, but I'm definitely going
Okay.
to stick around and give it a shot.
And what's on the horizon for Exodus Seeker? Are you guys going to kind of go for it again?
Yeah, we're definitely never not going for it anymore.
Cool.
We realized that we can't compete. You really can't compete doing a casual raid schedule, and the guilds that do casual raid schedule, they're just a bunch of joke guilds who put in their front page, U.S. First Spine only raiding 4 days a week on Saturdays, with half our raid only having 16-bit monitors, and someone in our raid has a broken leg, world first. Like, that's like literally their front page updates. Like, that's what irritates me the most about the US scene, is you have a bunch of guilds. So basically any guild that's not Exodus Vodka or Blood Legion, you got like Premo now who's going casual. Like, these guilds, they just they raid and then they make like a giant front page update about why they didn't get as high as they could have, why that Spine was you had the class stack so hard we couldn't compete. And any guild that's serious about competing or serious about being a top guild, and they want US first, they're going to have the alts available. I mean, it sucks. It sucks that you have to do it, but they're going to have the alts available. They're going to be able to class deck if they need to, and they're going to get a top rank. Look at the top 20. It did not change that much from last year. And the guilds that were crappy in the US last year are still crappy in the US this year. So they can make all the excuses they want, but we're going to stick with this hardcore rating schedule because it's what works and it's what you have to do if you want to be good. So we're definitely not going to pussy out and go softcore anytime soon.
And how's the health of your roster? Are you guys doing pretty well as far as numbers?
Yeah, we have a joke in Exodus that we're amazing at absorbing guilds that die. And like Yoon said, we picked up a lot of people from his guild, Rebellion. And then Nigma, which is like the US rank 4 guild, recently collapsed. And we got about 6 of their best players. So, I mean, we're pretty sturdy. Like, whenever we go into expansion, we always try to, get people that are really good. It doesn't matter what class they play, because we could just have them main change or roll an alt or something. But we just look for people that are really good. So we recruit a lot of people right before the expansion, because a lot of people are probably going to quit.
Now, tell me what makes them good, because Vama said that this is the most high-end raiding guild I've been in before, and some raiding guilds at the top will demand that you've had, top 20, top 50 tier raiding experience before they'll even consider you. So how do you ascertain skill level what is important as far as a new raider goes? Like, what do you look for?
Basically, when we try someone out, we do like a trial period. So obviously, we'll see their app, and if they have a decent app, we'll get them on Mumble or Ventrilo, and we'll give them an interview, and then we'll kind of get a better idea of, what they look for in a guild, and if they have any questions for us, and we can get an idea of how decent they'll be based off just talking to them on Mumble. People that are vocal and really convey the idea that they want to raid at the top, and they talk about all the classes they can play, some scenarios that they've been in, and then we get them in the guild. They transfer over, and we just give them a trial, and it's really easy to tell if someone's going to be good or not. The people that you can tell someone's good by based off how many of the mistakes they make, when they make a mistake, because everyone makes mistakes at some point in time, how they react to making a mistake, how they react to criticism, how they approach a fight, how they approach a new fight, if they're coming to the table with ideas, if they're talking to their respective class, trying to think of things that they can do better. That, like, we have people that, maybe we'll recruit a warlock, and we'll go to a fight, and the warlock will keep his same spec. And if anyone at the top knows that on most fights, you can change something in your spec that maybe will give you an advantage on that one fight. Like maybe on that fight, you don't need move speed. You're standing still the entire time. So maybe you can change your run speed enchant to a DPS enchant for that one fight. And yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but the people that pick up on those things, someone that picks up on that, they're going to be good at any class they play, because that's just the mentality. That's just being good. Like, it doesn't matter what class you're on. If you're good on a certain class and you're everything we look for, I feel confident that anyone in our guild that's I would consider really good can play any class better than anyone else in the country.
So ironically, it's almost like you're saying that, unlike Blizzard, where you feel they haven't met their assertion that it's about bring the player, not the class, you actually do have that strong belief that the player comes to the guild, not the class that they bring with them.
To an extent. I mean, like on
Okay.
Spine, if it's completely radical, like on Spine, where certain classes cannot compete on damage. It doesn't matter how good the player is on that in that respective fight, and that's what sucks. Most fights you can have some people swap out and come in if they're better, but on that fight you couldn't. And going into the expansion, we're trying to if we have right now we have 5 rows and 4 mages. We're trying to limit that down and maybe kind of even it out so that we have 2 of every class or something. So lots of people main change.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. I think a lot of guilds had that problem as well, just trying to deal with the fact that there were these limitations with Spine that had nothing, like you said, to do with the actual player. So, did you want to add anything to that, Namas?
I just want to say, like, the WoW, this game at PBE rating has like a really quite a low rating skill cap. I mean, once we're up there, there's nothing you can do to get better than what you already are, if that make any sense. Like it has a very low skill cap. So hardest part of the whole rating hardcore guild to be in top 10 or top 25 or top top 1 number 1 is have 25 confident people, and they can dedicate time and effort during the progression. Like you can literally find online how to play the class within 20 minutes, how to reforce, how to gym, how to enchant, how to DPS rotation. And there's so many add-ons out there that'll hold your hand how to play that class. So you don't really it's yeah, like Sika said, you can, if you're a good player, you can pick up any class or any spec and you can learn it in a few hours or so, and you can play up to the maximum level. So it's not really of like, oh, you're so much better than me, or this guild is so much better, or it's just it's like on Spine or Madness, it's pretty much how much time you spend on that boss is whoever kills it first. Like, I don't think a Blood Legion's any better than us. I don't think we're any better than Blood Legion or Vodka or any a top end guild. We're all pretty much at the skill cap. It's pretty much how much time do you want to spend on the boss? Like, how much are you dedicated?
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you agree with that, Vuru?
I would actually disagree on the fact that the skill cap's low. I believe that the average skill cap is low and that you can get by on any of the fights with, just the basics of doing it right and avoiding the mechanics. But I believe that I know that personally I haven't reached my skill cap yet. There's still things that I can do to be a better player. I could increase my mastery uptime. I could increase, my playstyle for the fights and adapt, how I adapt to them. So I do think that, well, it's relatively low in a lot of ways. I do think that you can increase them at the same time, because I believe that everyone in the raid can obviously play slightly better in certain ways for certain fights. So, people shouldn't feel like they plateau, because there's always something that they can do to get better if they look for it and want to.
Nice. So, well, I think I've kind of drained you all dry as far as getting into the serious stuff, but I wanted to kind of get into a few kind of general fun, silly things. I know that you're quite a tight group socially, and that you guys will still sort of play other games together outside World of Warcraft. So I was just curious, what kind of other games do you like to play? Peter, what do you like to play outside of World of Warcraft?
I'm basically just all WoW. Like I achieve, yeah, I have like billions of achievement points. I like playing WoW. I'm kind of bored of it now. I'm just really just watching TV, playing WoW. I don't really focus on any other game though. Just WoW for me.
Okay, so you're a monogamist or monogamist? Yeah, literally monogamist.
Monogamist. Yes, definitely.
Yes, there we go. How about you, Siko? Do you play any other games outside of WoW?
I play Dota 2 a lot. Not that garbage League of Legends game, which is garbage. It's all about Dota 2. And I play some, what else do I play? I play a little StarCraft 2, Diablo 3 when it comes out, obviously. I'm going to play that. Maybe I'll get into Guild Wars 2 beta and I'll play that. And yeah, I do not achieve that. That's like nerd stuff.
And you definitely have a very particular point of view about things. Definitely, you tell us what you think, which is
yeah.
which is
Pedo
nice.
is a huge nerd. He brags about his achievement points, and achievements are
Better than Seeker.
giant nerds.
How are your achievement points then, Pedo? How's it
I
going?
think I'm like world 11th now. Used to be US
Oh.
first, or world second, US first. End of Wrath.
I say the Russians are still doing very well. They tend to dominate the achievements.
Oh, they didn't before, not in Wrath. They are right now though. But the race
Okay.
is not over until June.
All right. Well, I'll keep a close eye. In fact, we may do a special raid themed achievements call, and I'll have you back on, and we
Yeah,
can.
you can do an achievement podcast
Yeah.
and get this nerd in there.
Oh, definitely. We can go into the ins and outs of achievements. So, what are you most looking forward to, Viru, with the next expansion? As far as the raiding content, what would you like to see? If there was a particular raid or type of raid boss that you've never seen before, what would you enjoy that Blizzard would come out if you could custom design something for yourself?
Honestly, I'm not a very creative person when it comes to things like that, so I couldn't tell
Okay.
you a
Thanks
fight
for your
that
honesty.
Yeah, I'm kind of retarded.
Non-creative.
That's okay. Stick figures are as far as I get in drawing, so I'm not a very artsy or creative person.
We've never had a stick figure raid boss.
We should have a stick figure raid boss.
We could have a raid boss that's made entirely out of sticks. This could actually be quite intriguing,
Well, we are playing in the jungle in the future, so I mean, I guess we could have a stick
True.
boss.
a bamboo boss, because pandas eat bamboo, and maybe that would be the way that you would defeat the boss.
By
The
being
pandas would
fat.
have to eat. No, the pandas would have to eat the bamboo, which would defeat the boss.
Interesting. I've never
Could
seen a
be.
fight like that before.
Well, how do you feel about my strong point of view here that we need an underwater raid instance?
Ooh, it depends on the I don't want to say the mechanics. It depends on the functionality of the fight. Like, I think they did a very good job with Vashir and the swimming in that. But if it were like normal underwater bosses, I definitely would have to disagree.
Okay, so you don't like the underwater three-dimensional sort of spatial issues that come with the water element?
No, I'm
Kind of-
very cool with that. I just don't want to
Ah.
feel like I don't know. The normal world water mechanics in the game, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think they did a great job with it in Vashir. So if it were like their new water mechanics in Vashir, then I would definitely go for it.
Okay.
Or maybe like the final phase of Kalthas.
Hmm.
So where you're kind of flying around. If it felt like that, I'd be okay with that.
Okay. we'll see what they do. I'm really strongly hoping that something water-like will come in the next one. But the bamboo shoot stick figure raid boss could be quite cool, although suggestions coming that Algalon kind of looked a bit like a stick figure, but I think it's too pretty to really qualify as a stick figure raid boss. So, well, Namas, which of any raid instance that we've had since the dawn of time to present is your favorite one in World of Warcraft? Your absolute favorite?
Huh. Let's see. I can't say it's gonna be Alder because that's what everybody else was gonna say. So I'm gonna say, oh yeah, Call of Crusader.
Very interesting. Okay, why?
Because it was short.
Because it was short. That's true. It had a
was good.
few.
It was
Yeah.
good for casual players.
That's true. You could get through the content fairly easy because it just sort of came to you as opposed to having to go to it. So that's an interesting difference. Although other people found that frustrating. So it's interesting how you can never quite make everybody happy with any raid instance. So, right, I've got more sort of silly questions. Do you PvP, Iapeto, in World of Warcraft?
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
kind of do it more than I do now. I'm kind of just, I don't, I kind of hate PvP, but I kind of don't. Like, I got glad a couple times, but, eh, yeah.
I find it particularly stress relieving, but I'm incredibly bad at it, so it sort of probably contributes to that. So Viru, do you what do you think was the very best expansion that Blizzard's come out with to date?
Honestly, I believe that they've made a lot of progress forward, and I would have to say, in a lot of ways, and I'm probably going to get flamed for this, that it is Cataclysm, because I do think that they've made a lot of improvements. But my personal favorite and the highest tier of rating expansion, I would say, would definitely be Burning Crusade. Sunwell is by far my favorite raid that has ever come out, and probably ever will come out. And actually, my name is kind of dedicated to pre-nerf Muru.
Oh, of course, that makes sense. You were waiting for a chance to slip in Sunwell anyway, so there you go. You got a
I
chance.
was.
Yeah, that's very good. So, right, and now I've got some really silly questions for you guys. And I want you to be as honest as possible. These may be very difficult and painful questions, but Sika, I'm going to start with you. Would you rather be the richest person alive or be immortal?
Definitely immortal.
Why?
Because I'd want to. There's just a lot of questions that could be answered, like if there's life on other planets, how's the world gonna end? Are we ever gonna be able to do crazy shit like time travel or teleport or all kinds of cool stuff like that? I definitely would want to be there to the end to see all of that happen, because that's like being a scientist. That's like what I do, and I'd love to like just know all those questions, all those answers.
Very nice. So, Namas, you've been in a terrible car accident. Now, would you rather have a leg injury that results in a painful limp that you've got for the rest of your life, or would you rather have a gash on your face that leaves you with a terrible scar on your right cheek? Which would you prefer?
Face, of course.
The face, interesting. So you'd rather have facial injury versus a painful limp.
Yeah, I like running. I like walking. Then there's always gonna be a surgery where plastic surgery can probably cover it, or you can wear a mask. I don't know, but if you lost your leg, then that's that. You're not gonna have any fun other than playing WoW.
That's true. Running life is over as you know it. So. So, Iapeto, would you rather, if you had to give up sweet treats or salty treats, which would you give up?
Probably sweet treats. I mean, there's so many just salty, nice things, and I mean, sweet treats and things just like just sweet candy. I'd rather go for richer things. I like richer rather than just like candy junk food. Bleh. Definitely. Sweet.
Interesting. Viru, would you rather swim in a lake with leeches or sleep in a cave with spiders?
Ooh, definitely leeches because you can burn them off. So
Ouch. Well, spiders, they could have been harmless. I mean, they'd just be spiders.
it depends on the kind of spiders.
Oh,
If
but
they're
you're
venomous,
scared of
it's definitely.
spiders by saying that right away. You admitted a fear of spiders.
Um, if it can harm me, yeah. I'm not particularly fond of them, but if they're small and they can't harm me, then it really doesn't bother me. They can crawl on me, and I'll just take them outside.
Okay, fair enough. So, Sika, if you had to be an animal, would you rather be an animal that is lives in the ocean or a land-based animal? And what would that animal be?
Well, I'd rather be a land-based animal. And let's see. um, these chat comments are kind of funny. I don't know. I'd rather just be like I want to be a sloth. Just hang around in the trees all day and just be a sloth.
I can see it.
Sloths and put on like sunglasses and just wear sloth shades and just not care about anything.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Namas, would you rather have a third eye in the middle of your head or a horn in the middle of your head?
Hole as in like see-through hole?
No, like a horn, like a unicorn.
Oh, horn.
Yeah, like something you could use in battle or an extra eye.
Let's see. I'm gonna say third eyes and con people that I'm some kind of prophet and.
Ah, interesting. So, all right. Very good. Arpedo, would you rather spend? This actually came from one of your fellow guild mates slash friends. He's offered this question. Would you rather have an opportunity to spend 2 hours on the moon, or enjoy a complete expense-paid luxury trip to for 2 months in Europe? What would you rather have?
Well, okay. I'm assuming I can live on the moon, like in a spacesuit, and I'm not just gonna die there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the assumption is you'd spend 2 hours and return safely.
Okay, I'd probably go with the moon just because I don't like Europe. Like, why would I want to go to Europe? I'd rather be on the moon.
Okay,
Hmm.
fair enough. You do know I'm in Europe, right?
I do know that you're in Europe. I mean, I don't really have that much against European people. It's just I'm American and I'm proud of it. So I'd rather be on the moon. Just be interesting.
That's completely
Make a footprint.
understandable. That's
Yeah,
completely
jump over a
fine.
flag.
You gonna get an
Very good.
achievement for being on the moon?
I hope so. I really hope so. Maybe a feat. Need one
I
more
do,
for 100.
just so you know, I happen to really like America too. Furu, if you had to choose between losing your ears or your nose, which would you choose? Literally, it just disappeared.
Well, but I still have the ability to smell and hear. Yes.
I don't know. You guys ask a lot of follow-up questions. No, you'd lose the ability, the sense that corresponds to that.
Definitely nose then. If it were like if I still had the senses themselves, I'd definitely go ears.
You'd be all right with looking like Voldemort from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You'd be okay with that. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Thanks, guys, so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. And just give you guys a chance to say goodbye or add anything that I didn't ask you about. So, yeah, please do some shout outs.
I'll start. Thanks for the interview. I actually am fond of Europe, and Blood Legion is an awful guild.
Okay. Namas, do you have anything to add?
I would like to shout out to Rebellion people, love them all, and K Warrior for all those motivation speech every time we about to kill bosses.
Cool.
It's
Okay.
It's basic,
So, K Warrior is a member of your guild, right?
he is the raid leader, I think.
Oh, bless. Okay.
I guess I'll follow up then with more shout outs. I'd like to give a shout out to everybody in Ropetown, my Rastadrid friends Lilish and Shibu, and my friends in Why Tempt Fate on Nerzel. Though they're definitely progressing still. Got to give them props. So, but I do appreciate being invited to the interview, so thank you.
Very good. And Pedo, last but not least?
not really a shout out to anyone. Like, I guess go achievements. Sika is short. Killer's girlfriend is Asian. There.
Okay. Great.
She'll know
Well,
what I mean.
Cool. Okay. Right. All right.
Did
well, I
you
stopped
really-
recording.
Did you really just shout out to achievements?
Yes.
You're such a dork.